Welcome to the next episode of The Adventures of Artemis and Athena. I'm Artemis, that's Athena, and today we're talking about books, specifically books that shaped us as young readers.
I love books, if you can't tell. I was the ridiculous super nerd that had stacks of books carried with me to every class, even as an elementary school kid. And I would max out how many I was allowed to get from the library. I would read them all, don't worry. It wasn't like I bought books home and then didn't read them. But I was that kid. I loved to read.
I was that kid who inhaled books as an escape because I was heavily bullied as a kid. I was the weird girl who sang all the time, and I was chunky, and I had a very visible learning disability that made me different from pretty much everyone in my grade. So I read to escape all of that, and I think that's the right word. I went for the strong female protagonists because they were everything I wasn't.
Oh yeah, I didn't read anything that had a male lead, really.
Oh yeah.
There was a few series that had, a male lead that would come in, like Animorphs would have a male lead here and there. Like the series books, I was okay with because for the most part I had a bunch of strong female leads to read. I would kind of read really fast through the boy parts. Okay, move on. Oh, girl. Well, but I think that's telling, is that we really had to dig for the strong female leads because we are millennials.
Yeah.
And unlike today where we have this huge kind of selection of strong female leads, we had Tamora Pierce.
Yes, we had.
Even today, it's Tamora Pierce, bad girl. So it's Alana was so big. You had Alana, you had Diana, you had Kel, you had Allie, you had the Circle of Magic series. We have Sandry Breyer and that foursome. I love Sandry and Breyer, so that's kind of why I mentioned them. But it really gave us this collection of different girls.
Yeah.
And the story was their story. It wasn't they were a part of it. They read the story.
Yeah. And I know for me, I started reading, I was reading well above my grade level in elementary school. I was reading at a high school level when I was in 4th grade. I can remember reading the Song of the Lioness series, the Alana series, and seeing, in my mind, the first interracial marriage. Yes, Alana was the white ginger lady, but you saw, I think her name was Dorothy or something to that effect.
Yeah, we didn't get a Netflix series on Turtle. Please, but don't ruin it. So all of the pronunciations in our head are just what's in our head.
Yeah. But she was, in my mind, she was very clearly a tribal princess. But in my mind, she was Arabic. And you saw her and Jonathan get together at the end and have this huge...
Spoilers. So it's been years.
If you haven't read them by now.
It's been years. But yes.
But to have that first huge interracial marriage, for me, was huge. I was like, oh, I didn't know this could happen. And it was just so cool to see this strong woman go, yeah, you and I were good. No.
I'm going gonna pick a different one.
Yeah, we're gonna go with the other one.
I think that's also really telling that for us, we had the Tamora Pierce stories, and there is an aspect of love and romance because that is an aspect of life, and I think it should be shown in a strong way. But it was always a lady choice.
Yeah.
It was never like, you have to pick this guy because I wrote him and he's beautiful and he's perfect. But then also there's this guy. Oh wait, then there's this guy. And she
like,
gets
we're gonna try it. Yeah. She goes, you and I didn't work. Back. Like, it was the first, like...
She made all the choices in her own life, regardless if it was Diana or Kel or anything. They were written as, I made my choice. Yes.
Yeah.
I choose to go fight this war. I choose to go partake in, I would choose this alliance. I make the choice. I'm not being forced by someone else to do this. Which is so important. You get a choice.
Right.
And we had like Tamora Pierce for that. And I love that today they being ladies, girls have books that really show women who make choices.
By strong women authors.
Yes.
And I think, you and I both grew up on the classics, Anne of Green Gables, Jane Eyre, like all of
I was forced to read Little Women and Jane Eyre and whatnot. I really did not like them. I like Little Women now, but that's because I'm an adult and I can look back at it.
Yeah.
My classic was Pride and Prejudice. I love Elizabeth Bennet. Lizzie is my favorite. But like my classics, I was forced to read it. My interest into Anne of Green Gables was the movies.
Yeah. Yep.
Which then I went back to read some pieces there, but that's what we had, who are very strong women, but they're in very traditional female roles, which I never gravitated towards.
Well, and I think that's why, the Tamora Pierce books are so influential to us, because that's really all we had until we discovered these books. And it was so freeing to see a woman in a traditionally male role. Alana was a knight.
Yeah, well, she had to break that mold.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't start off as Alana.
No, she does not.
She starts off as a little lad and has to break that mold, which then paves the way for Kel, which was what I really loved about Kel. I never really connected to Kel in a way that I connected to Alana, but I loved that you saw this progression of change in Portal.
Right. And I think...
which I think is brilliant. Brilliant writing.
Oh, yeah.
Yay!
And along the same vein was Gail Carson Levine with Ella Enchanted. And
I loved that. That's really... I loved when I had classic fairy tales that had a spin and a fantastical spin. So I loved Ella Enchanted because it's Cinderella with a very different spin on it.
Yes.
And she was strong, she was sassy, and she had this huge thing stopping her and creating this tension.
And I will say this, like, yes, there's a movie, the book has so much more detail.
The book and the movie are different things. So kids read the book. It's better.
Yeah. But she also, Gail Carson Levine, she also released a book called The Two Princesses of Lamar, or Lamar, it's kind of interchangeable. And it tells the story of two princesses who are two totally different personality types, but they both find strength in different ways. And for me, like, it had everything. It's got, like this Beowulf style, like, legend behind it. It's got dragons, it's got fairies, it's got battles, it's got so many fun things, but it also teaches grace, and it teaches humility and quiet strength. And for me, like, I would sit there and read, like, just read it cover to cover several times and just go, I wish I could be as strong as Addie. I wish I could be as, strong as Meryl. But in those moments, we found like beauty. And to me, like even to this day, I will pick up that book and I will devour it. I've read it. It has to be close to 100 times.
And I think that's what's so important about having collections like this in libraries for kids.
Yes.
I mean, we had to go digging through different libraries to find these.
Yes.
But having a selection of books and a collection of books that represent different people, different types of people, different cultures,
yes,
is incredibly important. Representation matters, especially for kids when we're reading. We're finding ourselves at these ages, and we need to see our cultural myths. We need to see people that look like us, that sound like us, in books.
Yeah.
And I think our generation and younger, the Gen Zs and younger, are really trying to spearhead this. Yeah, we're trying to go, we didn't have this, we had to go searching for it, and we want this to be easier. We want to make sure that we have collection of books for Black girls and the Black girl magic, or the AAPI community. Because there's some great ones. I mean, I've recently read the Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, 20s Chinese Romeo and Juliet, fantastic book. And it matters. That matters.
Yeah. And, you know, there are a lot of books out there that highlight, you know, the great parts of other cultures. But I think it's also important for younger readers to see that there are repercussions to things that happen. And I think along the AAPI community and with all of the hate that's been going on the last couple of weeks, Sadako and the Thousand Paper Cranes is huge. It's a legend in Japan. And it's crazy to think that it's a legend because it happened in the 1950s. So it's not that long ago, but it's a legend. Sadako was a real person who was only a toddler when the atomic bombs hit Hiroshima. And she ended up getting sick. And you see the repercussions of dropping those A-bombs. And you see the heartache it brings. But you also see the perseverance of the people of Hiroshima. And it's sad and it's heart-wrenching. But it also teaches you, again, that quiet strength that I think young readers, you know, don't really see a whole lot. So.
And that's the reading teaches.
Yeah.
It teaches acceptance, it teaches strength, it teaches diversity. Reading things that and even if you're reading comics, like reading teaches, and I think that's so important. I mean, would I have ever started reading 1984 if I wasn't a reader? George Orwell, one of my favorites. I was a really weird kid. What weird kid reads 1984 and goes, it's one of my favorite books?
It's a theta.
It's a very difficult read, not gonna lie, even for an adult. But
it's weird.
Animal Farm too. Animal Farm's a little more acceptable, or accessible.
Yeah.
Still weird.
Yeah. But like, and I think, you know, you and I can really agree that the Dear America series shaped us.
Another teaching series. Huge teaching series.
Huge historical teaching option.
Masked in a novelization of characters.
Yeah.
There are these little bits, just these little bits of history just popped in there.
Well, and it was great for people who may not have had, you know, the attention span to read, you know, an entire novel because it was written into diary entries. And
they were all, from my understanding, they're all female.
Yes. I think there was one boy.
One boy. So, and in our generation, diaries were a thing. Like, if you were a girl, you were supposed to have a diary. I failed hardcore.
I just flat out, guys, I had diaries.
I made an
diaries
effort
out the wazoo.
I made an effort because of this series. This series, I wanted to write a diary because of it, and I never made it past a week.
Yep.
Never.
But I have like 2 or 3 that's like stick out in my brain. One being the 1776 in the diary about Valley Forge in the winter of the red snow. And, you know, that one kind of got me into colonial history. Like, and guys, we're not going to like sugarcoat it. We're history nerds. That's what we've kind of always been into.
I kind of have a lot of reenacting projects going.
But it taught us things that we never, like, as girls, we were never really taught to think about.
Because history, let's be real, is written by white, straight men.
Yes.
Like, mine was Cleopatra. I mean, white, straight men wrote Cleopatra in history as a certain way. And she's not. And thankfully, modern history is really trying to rewrite her history in the more factual way. But this series showed Cleopatra as a very intelligent girl who knew several languages, who knew politics, who could hold her own in those politics, who was respected. And it kind of fueled my ancient Egypt love. Like, this 10-year-old begging her parents to stay up till midnight to watch the latest ancient Egypt tomb unveiling. Like,
Tutankhamun.
No, like, I would stay up and be like, oh my goodness, they're digging it up. Oh, they're opening the tomb. Oh, what's happening? What's happening? Who does that? At like 10 years old, who's sitting watching Discovery going, what is going to happen?
Yeah. And I think, you know, like, specifically in that 1776 book, you saw someone having an amputation done on the field in a tent in the middle of winter. And you saw this young girl have to witness it, and you almost saw it through your eyes. And I don't know if it happens with you, but as I read, I have like a movie going in my brain. Like, it creates a world in my brain.
Good writing will, yes.
Good writing, yeah. But I saw that, and then in another one, it was following the construction of the railroads.
Mm-hmm.
And the main character's mother brings her into the tent she's on, and she says, you're at this age, you need to start wearing your hair up. You cannot act like a little girl anymore. And that was telling to me because, you know, that's not something that we think about as modern women. You know, you want to wear your hair down, wear your hair down. It was never a societal thing. So to see that was like, what is going on?
As I said, they were so well done that you didn't know you were learning history, but you...
Yeah.
And because I remember the Mayflower one, and that one was pretty dark because people were dying left and right.
Yeah.
You know, somebody died today, because that's what happened. Mm-hmm. And they did it in a way that wasn't traumatizing.
Yeah.
They did it in a way that was educational, but still heartbreaking, so you understood.
You
and I think that's... And kids understand a lot more than I think we're willing to give them credit for.
Yeah.
I mean, we were kids. I understood a lot more than I'm given credit for as a kid. But I think it's telling how much a book can teach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that it's important to have them. And that's why I said today we have so much more access. Because our generation is writing.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I am obsessed with Legendborn. And that's Black Girl Magic. And oh my goodness, I am so angry because I'm not angry, I'm happy angry. Because it ended and I want to know more. So, Nerd Queen Tracy, please write me more books because I need them now. And it's a new book, so like she's working on it. Like, gotta give a writer time. And then you have The Children of Blood and Bone, which is Black Girl Magic. And it deals with race, and it deals with culture, and it deals with the clash of both. And it's fascinating. Or like I mentioned earlier, the These Violent Delights, Chloe Gong. Please get that second book out. I am desperate. And it is coming. That one's coming too. I know that one. But it's in the 20s in China. So you're seeing a diverse range. I mean, you're seeing Throne of Glass is my ultimate favorite. I saw myself in Aelin.
Yeah.
That may or may not be good. If you know that series, that may or may not be good.
And I mean, like, you know, we grew up with the American Girl series. We grew up with, you know, the Junie B. Jones series. Like, we all
Sweet
had
Valley High.
Sweet Valley High, Nancy Drew. And it's like we had those, but they covered these kind of stereotypical tropes.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing, you know, women who are our age that are saying enough is enough. We're writing books for the kids that were us,
right,
as kids.
I mean,
and
that's what I try to do when I'm writing. I'm like, I want to write what I want to read.
Right.
And I think that's what writers who are writing YA now, who are our age, that's what they're doing. They're writing the stories we never got to see.
Yeah, that we wanted, that we desperately needed.
And it's not just females. It's LGBTQ plus community who didn't see representation going, that's a bunch of bull. I'm writing the story.
Yep.
I deserve my story, and they do deserve that story, and they're writing that story, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
And it's not just in the fantasy. Like, we're very fantasy lovers.
Yeah.
I love me some magic. Just give me some special powers. Well, but it's also in the contemporary fiction you're seeing it.
Yeah. Like, even just, you know, a fictionalized version of everyday life that people read. You're seeing the societal changes because we realize there's a need for change. And that in itself is powerful and strong and
I think you see it so much in young adult fiction.
Yeah.
As an adult, I don't read adult fiction because it's not dealing with society. Yeah. Not in the way that young adult fiction is, where they're addressing it head on. It's in your face. The emotions are there, and that's humanity. Yeah. So I really want to make the point that YA fiction is so important as an adult to read. Do not just dismiss it because there's some colorful little cover on it. Read it. Understand it. Don't just go, oh, well, the character's 16. Why would I read that? Because it matters.
Right.
It's dealing with everyday life.
Yeah. Yay!
So, books. Read them. It's your library. Even if you don't want a chapter book, a comic book is so important.
Guys, and right now, keeping the libraries open is so important.
A lot of them have online collections. And even so much as going and picking out, even looking at books online and whatnot, that keeps writers writing, that keeps readers reading. Like I said, if it's a comic book, it's a comic book. That's reading.
Still reading.
You just get really fun pictures with it. I love comics.
Yeah. So, yay!
Read!
Another episode down. What do you guys think? Like, let us know down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. I don't know what we're talking about next week, but we'll talk about it. So, subscribe, like,
comment. Tell us your favorite book. What is the book that really mattered to you? I want to know, because I need to add more to my ginormous library back there. So
we're here to have discussions about art, and we can't do that without you guys. So definitely check us out. We will see you next time. Until then, I'm Artemis.
I'm Athena.
We'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye.